Right now, I'm going to be introducing the next panel session, which is on smart security and safety for African buildings. Security and safety are non-negotiable. They are very important conversations to be had when it comes to urban communities. And so, for this next panel session, we'll be having the head of customer experience at Venco moderate this panel session. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, please make welcome Ms. Ajuma, the head of customer experience at Venco. Thank you very much. Please, our panelists would like you to step outside for a very short interview. Thank you very much. Once again, put your hands together for the customer experience at Venco as as she comes to moderate the panel session on smart security and safety for African buildings. Please put your hands together for her one more time.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Ajuma. I am the head of customer experience at Venco, and I'm very excited to be moderating this session this afternoon. The theme of the panel is smart security and safety in African buildings. So for many of us here, we used to think that the idea of security used to mean maybe a gate, a guard, and some visitors logbook or something around. But you know, as our cities evolve, so must our approach to safety evolve. Today, we're going to be talking about a change that has really occurred in our system, in our ecosystem, in our communities. We're going to be talking about a transformation from manpower to mind power, from paper logs to dashboards, from reactions to preventions. We're going to be exploring how people, technology, policies come together to ensure that our communities, our cities, our buildings are safer and smarter. And then I couldn't ask for a better set of voices to unpack this conversation. So I have leaders who represent different layers of this transformation. Please join me as we welcome the panelists. Okay, for the first panelist on my list, I have Mr. Ebenezer Ajomo. He is an IT specialist and safety professional from Lagos State Safety Commission. Please put a round of applause for him as he comes. So the next panelist, we have Mr. Boyega Faleyi, the GM Eco Atlantic City. Please, a round of applause for him as he walks up to the stage. Let's keep clapping, please. Next, we have Mrs. Titilayo. She is the head of Advisory Consulting Education Unit at Halogen. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you. So we have, how many minutes? 40 minutes, but we've been begged to squeeze it into 20 minutes. So we're going to unpack as much as possible. After the conversation, we're going to open the floor to a question and answer session. So if you have any questions while the session is going on, please note them down and you'll be able to ask as we go on. Okay, good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining this session. So there's been a lot of cases around safety lapses. We've heard about fire outbreaks, we've heard about structural issues, and a lot more. And I know that we all play a unique role in policy making, in public housing, in private city management, development and technology. So I'd like to hear our thoughts on what we think is the biggest safety risks issue that is faced by, you have a max, okay. What's the biggest safety issue that is faced by Lagos built environment today? And what lever do we believe can help to reduce this? So that the question is for everybody. So we'll just, yeah, Mr. Ebenezer is going to start.
Good evening, everyone. Safety Commission as a regulator is that agency of government that is saddled with policy making, enforcement, and all of that in terms of safety. So we are not only in the built space, we are in every sector across all socioeconomic areas. But the major concern in terms of safety that we're seeing is that there's no proactive safety culture amongst our people. And I say that because two major incidents are prominent in the built sector, building collapse and the fire. And as Lagos State, about 55% of this happens in Lagos State, which speaks to a larger volume across the whole nation, what happens in Lagos State, and how the built industry needs to own safety as a sector. Our own lever is the culture, technology, and enforcement trinity. That is, we need to start changing culture. We need to start changing our people's culture from the FMs to the occupants and everything in terms of safety. We need to move from reactive to a more proactive way of handling safety because we invest so much in security and we leave safety at the back end. Meanwhile, a property could be very secure. You could have the best CCTV, you could have the best security men, but the safety risk factors within that property could be so high that it could may or mar the total operation of that facility. Also, we use technology now. AI is everywhere. So through our data collection systems, we've been able to look at patterns and also design proper systems where incidents or accidents are nipped in the bud before they catalyze. Likewise, we do strategic enforcement. I'm sure you've been hearing of our enforcement within the entertainment space, within the constructions. Some of the FMs or the developers here will have seen some of my colleagues come to either enforce, that is seal of the location, or even come to give some toolbox talk or some level of advice when it comes to the building in question. Another thing we try to emphasize is integrating safety into the design of the building. A lot of developers forget to add emergency exits to their building, or the landing of the emergency exit could be in a weird location that could even put whoever is trying to escape the building at risk. Some of us even forget to even add muster points to our structures. So all of this comes to play in terms of what we do at the Lagos State Safety Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Boyega.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you very much, sir. And I'd like to just pick it up from where you stopped, because you said something about designing safety into the building. I agree with you 101% that we all, have to develop the culture of safety. Every stakeholder, I agree. But I also want to challenge you as one of the regulators, especially in Lagos State. And I'll give an example. I think more due diligence and focus needs to be paid to those designs. I know that at some point in the construction of a building in Lagos, either before you secure your permit to build or whilst construction is ongoing, a fire certificate is supposed to be issued. And the fire service is supposed to come in, review your drawings, and make corrections. However, I don't know how much focus is paid to building standards. I know in Nigeria, we are more inclined to the British standards. And there's this requirement that worries me, especially since I took up a role in Eco Atlantic, because the entire, approval system for construction is at a new level. It matches international requirements and standards. And I'll give one example. And unfortunately, if a lot of focus had been paid to building standards and codes, maybe some lives today would have been saved. There is what they call a vestibule when you are designing a staircase, or some call it protected lobby. What that means is that if you are doing a medium to high-rise building, your staircase should not open into, say, a car park or just simply open into an office. It has to open into a lobby. If it does not open into a lobby, then it must be pressurized, and then you must have an extractor fan within it. These requirements I don't see in a number of high-rise buildings in Lagos, and by extension in Nigeria. And double back to, I'm not going to mention the name of the building, where the recent fire incident on the island happened. We understand no one was burnt. So most people that died because of suffocation. What happened? The fire incident happened at the basement, smoke rose through the staircases. If that staircase had protection, because within that lobby, you're going to have 2 fire-rated doors. There just no way fire comes in that staircase or smoke comes into it. Today, if we had paid good attention and due diligence to designs, and then ensure that that part of the code is applied to designs and then to construction, maybe a number of lives that have gone today would have been saved. So my greatest, worry is the focus and attention that we put to design. I agree with you, but more importantly, regulators who have the responsibility to either approve or disapprove, and also during construction to either shut down a site that is not in compliance, that is not being done in compliance with the code, or allow it to go. So that's my greatest worry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's hear from you, Mrs. Titilayo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. I would try to also continue from where you stopped. And let me introduce myself again. So my name is Titilayo Gunde. I head the advisory and consulting unit at Halogen. And one of the reasons it's important that we're having this is because we know that it's important to push the message out there. So that's why I said I like the angle that you're coming from. So security in homes for a lot of people here is just the gates and the physical security. Interestingly, when you talk to people from an expert point of view, they don't just seem to want to have that conversation. They're so much comfortable with, let us go with the physical deterrence, forgetting that at the end of the day, smart security solutions in entirety, an integrated solution is really what keeps the home. So to the question at hand, I think that the biggest risk that we're facing in Lagos right now is the risk of violent and non-violent crimes. At one point or the other, a lot of people experience this. So what do we need to do to fix it? So I would think that the part that is, debatable, it's been said over and over again, is the public-private partnership. How do we make this work? It is truly a partnership approach that really can put an end to this, because when people commit a crime, when they come to steal, when they come to burglar, they're doing it with the intention that they're not going to get caught. So the moment they know that there is a model that would catch them or that is waiting for them to be caught, the crime would reduce, because really no one wants to get caught. With the festivity around now and the season that we're in, it is even increasing. Petty theft, want chances for those who, still are very familiar with the public transport. You hear of these cases every day. So I think that one, for buildings, an integrated solution is truly what works. It is not just the physical security and the CCTV, it's about embedding real security into the home and really thinking about it from the scratch. What do I need to do to prevent this? So you talk about exit, you talk about energy, you talk about, so it's everything interwoven. And then obviously for the parts that affect everyone in general, I think a public-private partnership is still a model that would work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I like that each one of you touched on different points that, instigated a question in my mind. So let's go. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Ebenezer. So you said that Lagos State Safety Commission is now beginning to enforce proactive safety culture, one that goes beyond inspections, I guess to improving or enforcing mandatory drills, muster points, and all. But something I didn't get is how. Okay, how are we doing that? And then what's for facility managers and estate developers that are here today, what top standards would you want to see consistently applied across properties?
Okay. Lovely question. So how? That is the big question. In the year 2024, that was last year, the Occupational Safety cadre was created at the federal level. That is now a cadre within the public service, and we have a few people who are currently serving as Operational Health and Safety cadre officers, about 28 of them. In our last conference where Mr. Governor came on board, he's currently the commandant of that cadre. We have them broken into 5 of our divisions right now, cutting from Oshodi to Ikeja, Ibejuleki, across about 5 zones. These officers are mandated to go to facilities, be it construction, baking, or everything, to also help aid what is in existence, because the idea is that you self-regulate, because there's a lot of government funds going into chasing people to do what they need to do. So the idea is that you self-regulate yourself. What you are coming to do is just our oversight function to check, okay, what you have in your documents, what your standards you've created for your operations. Because we believe in the build sector, we have very intellectual people, and we believe they don't want to cut corners. So government doesn't want to come and say, do like this, or you need to do this. We believe you know the standards and what your building should look like in terms of safety. And you're building it for human beings, not, I don't know, phantoms or ghosts. You're building for human beings, and they're supposed to be the ones to cooperate. So you put it in consideration that what I'm building, I should build for humans, and it should be sustainable. Likewise, for the estate managers, I have a few things I would just want them to also implement. Ensure that you have a proper emergency preparedness plan, not just in documentation, but in reality, meaning that in case an emergency happens in your facility, what will I do, or what should the occupants do? Do you have a well-designed escape route layout that all of your occupants understand? In case there is an outage, maybe sometime in the midnight, do you have emergency lighting within the structure to lead people to safety? Do you also have proper access controls in your building? Who has access? You bring in technicians from outside to do 1 or 2 things within your facility, but they're not documented. You bring in someone to maybe do maintenance, and this person is not from a credible institute, simply because you're trying to reduce the cost overhead that you need to charge your occupants, or you're trying to be funny, let's just put it that way. Also, digital incident reporting. We feel you need to always report all the incidents, because these are the data we need to also extrapolate and run through the AI that we are currently using to read patterns. A mishap or a near miss is important. Just report it. We're not coming there to come and seal up, but we could also come and advise. to say, okay, what you've done or what has happened was not well managed. Like my other colleague had said, we were there and we did our own bit of our job, also in the report to advise and say this and this were not done when the report was sent. So amongst other things, safety in leadership also ensure that our leaders, our facility managers, our companies will lead by example, and we ensure that safety takes the lead in all what we do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that very insightful response. So, Mr. Boyega, this is to you. Eco Atlantic is essentially a city in a city, right? And you had mentioned that safety should be enforced. So, with your knowledge today of safety, how do you do that across such a place with so many independent factors across buildings, developers? How do you ensure that, safety and proper access control is implemented?
All right, so thank you very much. And even though the infrastructure had been done to the best of standards, but it's still a city that is growing. We're probably at about 5-7% of our capacity. So it's fast growing. I think there is a new, interest in the city now. And a number of developments are coming up and are trending upwards. But let me quickly go to your question. Like I said, we have so part of the concession the city has from Lagos State is to be almost autonomous. So we have our own LASPA, we own our own LAPSCA. So every building is subjected to stringent regulations, right? Not only the local regulations within the city, you are also required at some point, all your documentation and designs are sent for a peer review. So these peer reviewers are also consultants who are top guys in their own field. And we get all that report. We compare that with the regulations before we give you a permit. So it is, for instance, in Eco Atlantic today, most of the new buildings coming up have, for instance, what I said about the code in regard to the staircase. So you can be sure that you are not going to have an incident of fire in a building where people suffocate because of rising smoke. And we've been able, because you can't start construction until we'll approve for you. And then we have a whole team, like they also have in Lagos State, that follows up and ensure compliance with regulations during your construction. So you can't cut corners because those guys are there every day, working with your consultants, working with the developers. It's a tough call, because ordinarily people want to cut corners because the requirements too are not cheap in the sense that they cost money. If you're having an additional room for your staircase to open into, if you put that into cost, concrete and block wall is a cost. But because we have a strong regulatory framework in play, that has ensured that people align. A couple of older buildings are not as aligned because they've been built before the regulations came. So it is by regulation, and it's also by ensuring that we are ahead of the developers in the knowledge that we have and in our approach to enforcing compliance with those regulations. It's like, how do I put it? It's like, it's a model. FLS is fire, life, and safety. It's at the forefront. It's even more important than utilities because we're talking about lives here. It's at the forefront. By the time you come to us, you come with your strategy, your FLS strategy for your development. We are in charge of the built environment and everything that goes in there, right? But for every building that is developed, there are stringent, regulations in place which you don't have a choice but to adhere to. And that's how we've been able to rein in developers and ensure that the buildings are built to the best of FLS standards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really clear. Thank you so much. Mrs. Titilayo, you had mentioned that one way to reduce this risk is by embedding integrated systems that improve security. While I completely agree with you, I see these fail so many times, and not because the technology does not work, but because people resist change. So, from your experience as a consultant, how would you suggest that change management is handled? How would you suggest that organizations shift from, what they know to secure culture or safety culture?
Thank you so much. This is a core question, right? And especially because of the time that we're in now, it's important that people are not just spending money on infrastructure if it's not going to be used or adopted. It's important that you are clear from the beginning that this is going to yield its fruits. Else, it's just a wasted investment. So, for obvious reasons, anything that has to do with people is usually very difficult. And so one of the things you have to embed in whatever you're building is a change culture, first and foremost. So one is to understand the why behind why this is going to be done, why you're building this essentially. So redefine the why in the technology so that it's clearer to people the role that it plays. So technology in security is an enabler, right? So that change or that notion has to be clear from the beginning. So the second thing is that it's also important to engage all stakeholders from the very beginning before work even starts. When I say stakeholders, it's very easy to think, oh, let's call all the heads of units. No, this is everyone. Everyone down to the T has to buy into the project from the beginning, has to buy into the idea of why this is important. Because a little sabotage can truncate the whole thing. So it's important to get everyone aligned really before the project even starts or before work even commences. A third point is to train and retrain continuously. So people are resistant to change because they don't know how to use it. You've just deployed something that looks beautiful, but without training people on how to use it, and also understanding the human factor. Not everyone learns on the same level. Not everyone learns at the same pace, right? So you have to understand the human dynamics in training. And that's why it's not just a one-time training, it's a training and retraining. A fourth point for me will be to have a system and to encourage a system that allows people to fail forward and not be afraid of failing. You don't want to look like the one who does not know how the newest technology works, right? So, but if people are afraid of failing, if people are afraid of being caught, then they would not embrace it from the get-go. So that system that allows people to say, oh no, today it's okay, you can just press that thing. And guess what? Once you're done with this, there's something I really want to show you in my office. It will teach you better. So just be that open to making people understand that everyone really can partake in this. And I think the last point for me on this one is to lead by example. You have to be the change that you want to see, and you have to continuously encourage that change. If it calls for you to have some form of innovation session, some form of what's the word now? Some form of something that encourages people as a package. Once you're able to do this, you get this in return. Just lead by example and then encourage people to also adopt the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I just want to throw a buttress on your fourth point. I try to tell people that people fight what they do not understand. So when people try to come on the Benko platform, we get, when we are faced with maybe a bottleneck, for instance, the stakeholders are on it, they are all interested, but they are coming back to say, oh, our residents are saying they don't want it. Our residents don't like it. Our residents said, the first question I try to ask is, have you made them understand what this system is bringing, the improvements, the ease, and then the dangers of not having these systems on board? So it is very important that you try to explain as much as possible. Where you said continue training, train to train. So it's very important that you continue to explain and explain and explain until they get it. So our time is actually up, but we're just going to open the floor for questions. So if you have any questions, we'll try as much as possible to take maybe 2. So if you have any questions, please raise up your hand and the mic will be passed to you. And kindly direct your question to someone on the panel if not, we can just answer.
We're just taking one question. Okay. 2. All right.
Good day to you. My name is Daniel, and I'm from Home Inspectors Nigeria. So we are like a quality assurance company, and I would like to know, what are the provisions, because we ensure quality from at every stage of the build. I want to know the provisions you have for third-party inspection companies to verify the safety and security of the properties around us. Yeah.
All right. So we'll take one more question from that man at the back and the lady in red, and that's all. So please, let's make it very snappy.
Good afternoon. My question is to the Lagos State representative. And one thing is, you should also link safety, because we are in a real estate event, you should also link safety to provision of housing to citizens. Recently, the Lagos State government demolished houses and in Yanaworo. So where do you expect those people to live? That is a question. Those people have been displaced from their ancestral land. If those houses were demolished for safety concerns, where do you want them to stay? So, and also, what is the latest technology you've been deploying in recent times to encourage that homes are safe enough? Because we've discovered in so many houses are being marked for demolition, whereas no technology was deployed to really ascertain the safety standard of those houses. You just mark because maybe they've not settled some boys. So what are you doing? What are the safety measures? What are the safety mechanisms you currently being deployed? And for the man in from
All right.
Oloweko, what do you call it? Eco Atlantic. So how cooperating is the Lagos State government to ensure that the homes being built there are meeting safety standard, and that not as if somebody just come and he just started building. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. It looks like a personal attack. All right. So please, the last person, we only have 1 minute to answer all of these questions so we can move into the final panel session for today. We only have 1 minute to answer all the 3 questions. We can't answer any other question.
Thank you. Good Good afternoon, everyone. So my question goes to the Venco staff. So I understand that Venco helps communities to track, communicate, and act faster in emergencies, during emergency situations. So I want to know how practical, the access control system, the event management, and emergency modules that Venco has, how practically can we apply them in situations like in emergency situations relating to estates and building managers and to manage emergencies to curb risks. Thank you.
Okay. So my brother, he asked, what role what role does Lagos State allow third party, was it inspectors now? Third party what? Inspectors. Okay. The Lagos State Safety Commission has a part of its law that allows it also employ consultants. We call them consultants in quotes. People who have expertise in safety, and they go through a proper documentation and assessment before they are onboarded upon the Lagos State Safety Commission as a consultant. So if you have the technical skills or your company seems to offer a kind of service in that line, our doors are open. You can always come to our office there in Alausa Block 18B with your application, even with your proposal. Definitely, if you meet the minimum safety standards that we have, you'll be put on board. Then also for my brother, in terms of the building collapse, Lagos State Safety Commission does not demolish buildings. Those who do are the LABCA, I should remember the name, Building Control Agency. And I think they have their parameters for identifying buildings that need to be demolished. One, there could be an issue with the integrity of the building. Two, it could be that they don't have proper documentation or permits to occupy that space. Yes, you might call them ancestral lands, but the Lagos State government also always reminds people to properly document their buildings. Though the process may be a bit tedious, but I'm sure if those buildings are properly documented and captured properly, and are in the right safety, how would I call it now? They are in the right safety space in terms of the structure is safe for habitation, they won't be demolished. Because development is continual. If you are occupying a land that is on the right of way of an airport, or in right of way of a railway line, or is already earmarked in terms of the physical planning approval for that area for farming, you cannot build a building there and say, because we got here first, I can build here. Or because government has not been here for the past 20, 30 years, it doesn't mean that they won't still touch your building. So ensure that whatever landed property you are trying to buy, you go to confirm the use case. Because you cannot build a commercial, or you cannot build a commercial structure in a residential structure and not expect government to come and meet you. Or you cannot build a living structure within the right of way of a government facility and it's already earmarked for development for that government facility. There's no how those things will not happen. So also, sorry to add more, a lot of us are building structures without setbacks. There's a reason why a setback is there. It's for expansion and for development. So if you forget to include a setback in your structure and government comes tomorrow and tells you, okay, want to expand this road, and they eat your fence or it's a part of your building, it's all on you because you refuse to include those things in your design. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So the question about the Atlantic, right? And with Lagos State, the corroboration. Okay, I mean, like I had said, even our own regulation is even more stringent than that of Lagos State. But at the end of the day, because the governments have a responsibility, right? They have oversight on what happens in the city. What we do on a yearly basis, every building that we had approved, we render a report to them. And so they have the opportunity at that point to do a review. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so to answer the final question, you asked how practical Venco access control, emergency feature, and the event feature can how practical it can be in emergency situations. So I'll start by saying that if the vehicle access control is beyond giving entry into an estate. It provides digital footprints for estates. So let's say there's a fire outbreak today and this estate uses a manual visitor's logbook. That paper is going to be the first to burn. If there is a flood today, that paper is going to be the first to vanish. So this access control creates a report. It creates something digital in the back end that can give first responders access to who, the number of people in the building, and how to, focus their energy, their efforts. Is there someone here? Is everybody that came into this building, are they already out? What exactly are we looking at for? We've had a lot of situations where, people got missing because of a collapsed building. So this access control system can help provide important information about everybody that had entered into that building and just helps first responders. For the emergency feature, it alerts first responders. So when someone creates an emergency on an estate, maybe there's an accident or there's a fire outbreak or something, it alerts people that are supposed to come and assist in that situation, FRSC, everybody that can come in to people said, even your neighbors can see that alert and, run to your aid. For the events management feature, it just helps to reduce crowd in gatherings. For instance, you have a football pitch or a swimming pool and someone says, I want to have a party here. But if you use the event management feature, you are able to tell how many people is this person trying to bring into our estates by the people that has RSVP'd for this event. It can even help with your mustard points engagement, right? So you're able to see, okay, if all the estates come out to be in this hall, will the hall be able to take them? How many people have, indicated interest to attend this activity? So these things are how Venco and the things we do in Venco can help move our culture, estate culture, from doing a lot of analog things or manual things to really digital stuff, because it helps to just preserve your records. With this, I'm just going to quickly wrap up this session. So what are the key points that we have noted from this session? So one of them is safety is everybody's business. Prevention must become a culture. So we have to move from a place of reaction to prevention. Policy is moving towards proactive, enforcement. Community needs readiness. Mr. Ebenezer mentioned it over and over again. Estate managers, community, you need a readiness plan. So it's not when the emergency has already happened that we're trying to go out of it. It still boils down to being preventive with your approach and not reactive. Thank you very much for staying with us on this session, and thank you to my distinguished panelists. I hope you have a good afternoon.
All right, thank you very much. Please put your hands together for the members of this panel session. Can we please have a photo session? Mr. Chude, please, we need you here on the stage for the photo session as well. Mr. Chude. All right.